Hey, there we go.
It says we're live.
We live. Yep, we live.
I heard the buzz. I kid you not, I just barely got in the room. We went over to Hollister with the grandkids and went trick or treating, and I
Oh,
just
nice.
barely got in the door.
I had a feeling you were out doing something, and that's why I wasn't like totally freaking out about it, but I was a little bit worried. Like, what's going on?
What's taking them so long?
'Cause normally, like about 10 minutes before the 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes before the stream starts, we're chit chatting, technical troubleshooting, all that stuff. So that's the reason why I was a little bit like, ah,
I
you
kid
know.
you not. 30 minutes ago, right now, I was sitting at McDonald's over in Hollister. So we did some tall gunning to get over here. Try to get my.
Oh
I'm not
man,
used to having a camera on the monitor. That's different.
I'm busy running around reposting. Hey, we're live. Come watch us do stupid stuff.
Hello, Daniel. How you doing, my friend?
See, oh, hey, oh, yay. Got Daniel Nori in the chat again.
Curtis made it, man. You're going to be dying in the morning, man. What time you got to get up at 4? Man, he's got a flight tomorrow.
Oh, isn't he work related stuff? I think
Yeah,
cross country. Yeah, that's gonna suck.
yeah, it is. 4:30. He's got to get up, man.
Oh, dude, you're gonna be running off coffee for sure.
So how have you been doing, Calvin?
One last. Pretty good. Just busy, to be perfectly honest. Finally got over to the welding shop again with a friend of mine, which was like, being that life has been so busy. For those of you who didn't see, this morning I woke up with a dead car battery in my Mazda. I walk outside, load up all my crap in the trunk, to get in the car, turn the ignition, and what? That's all she gave, and I'm just like, that's not funny. Plan B. Email my art teacher really fast and say, sorry, I'm not gonna be able to make it. Crap. Call up my dad. Hey, yo, battery. What's a good one to get? So about hour later, I yank the battery out of my Honda that lives in the garage into the Mazda so I can zip on over to Costco as fast as I can to get a new battery. Thank God they had it in stock. It's like zip back home, put the battery in the car, jump in the car, drive to school. At least I made it for my environmental science class. Then go home for a little bit, crash, get all my stuff, pick up my friend for the welding class, grab some pizza over at Costco, go to the welding class, come home, do some design work for an order I'm putting into NURBS in the next day or two, and then do the live. She has had a crazier day. Please comment down below, but I think mine ranks as pretty darn crazy.
Hey, we see we got Keith in here. How you doing, Keith? Daniel, today's topic is we're just
Hey, what's up,
talking.
Pete? The topic is there really is. I figured out the topic for next week's stream, which do you want me to say it now so people know so they know to subscribe to my channel and all that good
Oh
crap?
yeah, go ahead and plug it.
Okay, so the plan is next week when we're a little more prepared than this week, kind of like, oops, not really having a plan, but we're going to do what we do best, which is talk crap into the camera and people are going to show up and watch it if they feel like it. We decided that next week, being the multi-purpose all the rage right now, we decided it'd be interesting to compare really are to the hobby ones and see if they're really worth all the hype or if it's just marketing spin. Is they're not that. So that's going to be the topic for next week over on my channel. So that's going to be kind of interesting.
We're losing Curtis. Have a good night, Curtis, and have a safe trip tomorrow.
Good night, dude. You need some rest.
Yeah, definitely.
Poor guy.
I see Chris is in. I misread what he wrote there for a moment.
Oh man.
Oh man. So yeah, that's pretty much went and did the trick-or-treating thing today and got back just a little bit ago. Unboxed a printer last night. I wasn't going to say nothing about what printer it was until I released the video, but G-Tech beat me to it. They already said, "Oh, look at the E180."
And you're all like,
I'll try to be all secretive and stuff.
nope. They're just gonna cruise on by and be like, "Oh, secretive? Screw that! Free marketing." No, I'm just teasing. I, hey, what's up, Joe?
We got King Random in the house. We've got Joe in the house. How you doing, Joe?
Doing
What
some
time
more
is it
ninja
over in
typing.
Malta right now?
It's 7:09 a.m.
Really? Oh, wow. Nice. So other than that, I put these shelves up behind me, got that all set up. I didn't realize I was going to fill them up that quick.
It's funny how that works. You go, I don't have that much stuff, and you start putting it in there, and you go, I need more shelving.
Uh-oh, we lost your audio.
Wait, who lost audio?
Yeah, I didn't hear you that time.
Oops. Yeah, it should be noted that down the street from me is probably a whole lot of Halloween celebrations going on. So cell service might be a little cut in, cut out. So I'm really sorry if sometimes my audio dips. I'm running on cell service right now, but in San Francisco, when there's an event, cell service goes like.
Yeah, it takes a dump real
That
quick up that way.
happens. I'll repeat what was said. So, guys, if my audio cuts out, I'm really sorry, but it's always the luck of the draw between my Wi-Fi, which is crappy, or my cell service, which goes really crappy. There's an event in the city. So, take your picks.
I see that we have got, who else did I see in here? Average Joe 3D. How you doing? We got Injury TV. Is that how you pronounce that?
I don't know. I'm terrible at pronunciation, so I'm not even going to try.
We got Duo in the house. Wow, we got all kinds of people in here tonight.
This is awesome. So just for fun, I temporarily set my little time-lapse video that's going to be coming out on Wednesday for the continuation of the stream. So if you guys want to give a little bit of feedback in the chat here about what you guys think about the video. In short, what I'm trying out is a little video whenever doable where it's either a 3D printing time-lapse, a speed design, or just a time-lapse of me working on a project. There's no real theme to it other than it's just, a little glimpse into my life and what's going on and things like that. So let me know what you guys think. It's of the Thingomatic, which is like now everybody's new favorite machine. So because of the way the mechanics of it are, it's a little bit tricky to do a time lapse, but wanted to get a little bit of feedback on that because I think it'd be kind of a cool thing to put out midweek whenever doable. But I wanted to get what people had to think about it and their opinions. So I think this is kind of just like a little, I figured it'd be a good idea to kind of bounce that off the audience, if you know what I mean, to get their opinions. Not that I'm trying to hijack the stream, Jimmy.
That's all right. It's yours. Your name comes first.
Yeah, but you're hosting it. I'm not. You know, when I don't feel bad talking all over Jimmy, you know, because then I'm the host of the show. Whenever I'm talking over Jimmy on his channel, I'm all like, man, I feel like I'm a jerk right now.
Don't ever feel bad about it.
I know, I'm just messing around.
3D Maker Noob, by the way, congrats to Jimmy Shaw's tidbits on your 1 million view video. You so deserve it, buddy. Thank you very much. I still cannot believe that video had 1 million views. I still do not believe it, but hey, I'm not gonna question it.
I don't blame you. It's crazy that you did the Harry Lion video, then you did another Harry Lion video, and that just went boom and blew up. I remember when you're like, oh yeah, you know, I forget, was it that one or a different one that you got contacted by a couple of like these social media companies about to kind of promote it, and then you're like, the heck, I never had that happen.
King Random says he's got one, he has 2 printers, a CTC wood frame, a Hycop, I don't even know how you pronounce that one, acrylic frame. You currently have $160 worth. Would you buy another CTC wood or a wood G-Tech or an ANET A8? That's a good question. I've always wanted to check out a CTC. I've never really, I've seen them on eBay quite a bit. The wood G-Tech, I have seen that one. That one's got two extruders to it, and that's kind of a neat looking one. The ANET A8, a lot of people swear by it, but I also see a lot of people talk about it not having all the parts every time they go to assemble it. So I don't know. You have any feedback on that one?
Me, I don't know. I hate to say it, but I'm with Chris on this one. When he said save your money and get some, I don't want to sound like I'm saying it's a bad idea to buy any of those. I'm just saying that the real question is, how desperate are you for another machine? Can you wait to get something that's a little bit better when you have more money, or is it kind of like it now sort of thing? The only reason why I ask that is because it's totally cool getting another machine, but my rule of thumb is, if in doubt, wait a little bit longer till you have more funds to get what's actually in the long run a better machine for you, buying a stopgap machine, using up all of your sinew even longer to get what you really wanted in the first place. That's my take on it. So I'm not trying to, you know, say no, don't buy anything. I'm just saying it's like, how urgent is the need, or is it something that can wait until something a little bit better comes out there, or prices on other machines drop because the quote newness factor wore out, or it's on eBay, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I've looked at that CTC one, but in fact, back when I was looking at getting a 3D printer in the very beginning, I was really looking at the CTC. And then shortly after I was looking at that was when the G-Tech one came up, and I ended up just putting a bid on it, and I won the auction on it. So that's how I got into the G-Tech one.
Chris just made a really good point. He goes, if you really want to stay in that price range, wait until the 11/11 sales on GearBest and Banggood.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, especially considering that, you know, there's the holidays coming up and things like that. I say, if you can, wait a couple of days, and and if you haven't already, sign up for the email newsletters from all the different companies and all the different sites that sell stuff, because for all you know, they might have a big old sale right around the holidays, and you might actually be able to pick up something, either what you wanted for less or a better machine for about the same price. I mean, I know it's difficult, don't get me wrong, if you're really struggling, but sometimes, a little bit of patience can pay off. And in the worst case scenario, you don't get a deal, but you wait. I mean, at the end of the day, it's your choice. But I'm just trying to say is sometimes waiting a couple of days, especially around the holidays, could end up saving you a fair bit of money because around the holidays is when companies go crazy trying to sell off old stock or trying to get sales done or things like that.
I'll tell you, if I was going to buy another printer right now, I would save up my pennies and go for that. Was it the CR10 or the CR10 extended? That's what I would go for if it was me. But
Personally, oh, go on. Sorry.
go for it.
Okay. Honestly, when it comes to, I'm going to be perfectly honest. It's not that I bury my head in the sand with 3D printers now, but there's so many cheap printers out there that trying to keep tabs on all of them is a bit of a pain. But personally, if I had to get a large format printer, I'd probably just get something like a CR10 or something like that. Something that's decent, but something that's also got a huge community base behind it that's very easy to upgrade using either that machine or another one. So pretty much you get the thing in, you spend 2 or 3 days going over it, tightening everything up, making sure everything's good, printing all of the widgets, and then boom, put the thing in production or doing whatever the heck you're doing, if that makes sense.
Now, King Random does have a pretty good point. He says most of the prints that he's doing are between 10 to 15 millimeters high. So I understand that
That's
he's
really
not
short.
needing the height, but depending on how many pieces you're printing at once, you could, with that size build plate, put quite a few pieces out too.
The only problem
But
with printing a whole bunch at once is if one dies, the whole lot dies.
that's exactly right. So I see his point on really he doesn't need to go for one quite like that.
Well, the
So
one thing I will say is the fact that he's not printing very tall stuff means that in, say, Kira, he could theoretically print one, then another, then another. You don't get the same part density, but if one dies, you still have all the previous ones and you just restart the program.
yeah, I see we got Greg the Great in the house. How you doing, my friend? I'm glad you were able to join up with us.
What's up, Greg? We're getting ready for your grand roast tonight.
Greg, get you. Do you have a webcam? If so, let me give you the link.
It's kind
We'll
of
do a
like
big roast on here tonight.
I need to run downstairs and fire up the oxyacetylene torch, and every time we roast it, we're just like, psh, just like hit the gas and light it up. Kind of
I
like
bet
that
you do
joke,
light it up.
that joke video that I put up on Twitter where I'm like, yeah, check out my costume. It's really hot as I'm holding an oxyacetylene cutting torch that my friend was using. I'm like, hey, Jen, can I borrow the torch really fast? Shut off the oxygen. Yeah, it's really hot. Okay, here you go.
I am already toasted, man. I've been going
Oh,
going
same
out
here.
all day long, nonstop.
I hear you. Don't worry, we're both like equally just like mid for our own reasons right now. So if we're a little bit spaced out, that's the reason why. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I took it. I messaged Calvin and asked him. I said, "So what do you want to talk about tonight?" He says, "I don't know. Let's just talk."
I figured next week when we have more time, it would make more sense to do another depth video, kind of like what we did with the whole is crowdfunding evil or not.
Yeah,
I kind of figure it's like if you're going to do a video about a topic that's current or a big topic, it's better to wait a little bit until you have all your resources lined up and you've had time to research everything than just trying to run on there with a bunch of scrappy notes and going, I think I could pull this off, but I'm really not sure.
yeah. Poor Greg's getting roasted. Chris is saying that he's playing Candy Crush.
Is he playing Simcopter from Maxis from like the mid 1990s? That was like the only computer game that my parents let me play.
Yeah, this camera here is still my Logitech. Was it the 920? But the other one, the Canon, that's one I've been using for my videos here lately. And what's nice about it is it's 60 frames per second at 1080p. So I've been able to step up it's been taking longer to render, and of course the files are a lot bigger. I've actually been rendering at 60 frames per second lately.
Nice. Ever since a while ago, even on my old computer, I was doing 1080 at 60. Then now that I have the new laptop, it's like, yeah, I can do 1080 at 60 and it's worth it. My dad's like, but it takes longer to upload. I'm like, yeah, but the quality is a lot better, especially when you're trying to do stuff that's slowed down. You really notice the difference, you know?
Yeah, I've noticed that it just looks smoother. Just even if I play it back at a lesser resolution on my cell phone, it just the pictures, just everything just looks smoother and just a lot nicer.
No, I'm 100% with you there. I'd much rather have something take a little bit longer to upload. Figured out that school has incredibly fast internet compared to home. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I might be doing an upload or two just because I can, but I'm pleading the fifth on if I'm actually doing that or not.
You're pleading the fifth?
Pleading the fifth.
Fifth.
I mean, who's not to say that
fifth?
Who's not to say that other instructors are not uploading large files to their Google Drives or the stupid, crappy online student resource service thing that we use or whatnot. So it's kind of like, I don't think anybody's really going to care all that much. And if they did, I could say it's an educational video, so there, deal with it.
Yeah. See here, I was going to the filament I got today. I was going to bring out a roll of filament that AMZ sent me. I forgot to bring it out here. It's in the car. They sent me another spool of
Come on, dude. Seriously? Oh, nice.
So I can't wait to give that a shot. And then they did send me a roll of this. Check this out. Yellow.
Go 3D print a banana for scale.
What's that?
Go 3D print a banana for scale.
That's a good idea, actually.
As a smart aleck comment, just because I could, because you pull out this roll of yellow and I go, oh yeah, the whole banana thing.
I see Paul's in the house. How you doing, PJ? I paid the fifth. That's still my favorite skit right there.
So we're losing Chris. He's got to run. He's got a long day tomorrow before the Matter Hackers event tomorrow night. So
I forgot.
Have a good one, dude.
Yeah, have a good night. Take care. Tell them all I said hi.
Go harass Dave and Joel for me.
Yeah, give Joel a high five for me, and do a photobomb on Dave. Just slide right in front of him as somebody's snapping a picture. It'll be epic.
I will never forget when he did that at the Matter Hackers Autodesk Ultimaker event that we all met up at and went to. We're all going to take the group photo, and out of the corner of my eye, right when I think it was Mara was going to take the photo, I see Dave running, and I'm like, what the heck? Literally, the dude scoots in the middle of the shot and is all like, right as we're taking the photo, and we're all just like, that was epic.
What movie was it where the guy goes and slides in like that? It was that
I can't remember. I haven't seen.
I forget the name of it. Tom Cruise. I forget what movie it is. He slides in.
Saturday Night Fever.
No, I don't think it's that. I forget what movie it was. Where he's there's like slip singing to old time rock and roll. He goes and just slides right in into the shot. That's exactly how he did it. He just runs and goes.
That was epic. That was
That
one
was.
heck of a fun night. I've got to admit. So, Matter Hackers and Autodesk and Ultimaker, if you are watching, yeah, that was fun. We should do that again. Hint, hint.
Definitely, that was an awesome place. I tell you, I went
Even if it
there and I
wasn't
got out of there,
up
and I'm
there,
like, why can't I get a job in a place like that?
because I'm going to take your spot for you and be thumbing my nose at you the whole time, Jimmy. I'm
I
kidding.
know you would.
Jimmy, deal with it. No.
Risky Business. That was the name of the movie. Thank you, King Random. Joe hit it at the same time.
I will admit it would be fun though if we had like even if it was just an independent little meetup thing. It'd be interesting to have like a little Bay Area meetup again with like you, me, maybe Travis and Heather from A Pyro, maybe Rich, maybe Brandon, I think it is over in the East Bay. People like that. It'd be kind of cool to find like a place to meet up at, like the usual awkward restaurant meetup, somewhere in the city or something like that, just to have like a little get together, hangout thing, talk 3D printing, maybe bring along a printer. I don't know how much work it would be, but it'd be really interesting to hold something like that somewhere, because, Maker Faire is fun, but it's almost impossible to find people unless you have like a GPS tracker on them and you have everything timed perfectly. It's cool just to, sit down with people and talk and, you know, goof with that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, we definitely need to
That'd be
find
fun
something that way and have a pretty good size get together.
for sure. Maybe we could start almost like our own West Coast mini or rep ish style event.
That would be cool.
It doesn't have to be anything as big or as fancy as Murph or anything like that, but more or less just make it kind of like a little get together of people. And we're not going to exclude people who do, home machining or something like that, but pretty much kind of like it almost be cool just to call it like a little garage maker event.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So that way it's like, it's almost like a little mini networking event. So people who, work on stuff in their garage or do design work, it's kind of like a good way to get to know people because it's like, I didn't until you told me. People might not know that I do 3D design work, mostly for the model train community. I do a lot of printing for that. It's it's a way to at least get the gears going, and maybe if other companies in the area that when I say we consider them good, ones that are not like totally shady, want to get in and help sponsor it or something, it'd be a good way to at least get it going. So if we approached places like, hey, we're trying to put together a little event, would you be interested? It's not just kind of like it's an idea on paper. It's at least documentation to show that we're not really just trying to like scam them out of money.
Right. PJ said, Calvin, you should go to and crash Travis's stream this weekend, the Extra Life stream.
I would, but I just honestly do not think I have time. The car battery dying this morning kind of threw my whole day for a loop, and let's just say that off camera, this set is kind of a disaster and the garage is kind of a disaster. So I'm like trying to, while things are not crazy busy, trying to get that like sort of organized because school's not getting any lighter and personal responsibilities are not getting any lighter either. But I would love to do that, but I just don't think I have the time. And it's like a good 3-hour drive from here up to this one way. So it's just like, I don't know if I have time to do that, honestly. But I'd love to. I'd love to.
Yeah, I'd love to get back up there and see him again. But this weekend's going to be kind of messed up because I am starting a new position up at Sears. So I'm going to be selling appliances starting Sunday. So they're putting in a Lowe's. I mean, it's literally across the street from where I work. And my brother, he used to work for Sears, and he quit Sears, went to work over for Lowe's. And several of the other associates have also walked off and went to Lowe's. So now it's left a huge gaping hole. So they need to plug it up. So they're like, "Hey, we want to send you upstairs." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." I'll give it a shot. We'll see.
Hey, we'll put it away. You never know. You never know till you try.
Well, I used to sell water heaters and water softeners there. Water heaters, water softeners, garage door openers, water filtration. I did all that kind of stuff for 4 years, and then slowly but surely they plugged in, sporting goods, hardware, lawn and garden. So I was selling all kinds of that kind of stuff, but I never got into large appliance sales. But I can't see there'd be a tremendous difference in it.
I'll put it this way: with all the home DIY stuff you do, I think you quite honestly know more than half or three-quarters of people in there anyways who are, quote, expert salesmen, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, is back there where I was working, I handled the returns on appliances. So if it was an appliance that needed to be serviced, I'd be the one to contact service to have them come out and do the repairs on it. So I got to see a lot of the stuff that can go wrong, and it's all appliances have a tendency of, and I hate to say it in a way where it sounds this bad, but things just are not made like they used to be quite honest with you, especially now that they've added a lot more in the way of electronics, and they're literally just a computer inside there controlling a lot of stuff. And there's so many sensors that one sensor goes out and you've got problems. And we're used to, it was like either it ran or it didn't. Now it's like, if it's not running, then check this sensor, check that sensor, check that one. So having the knowledge about that kind of stuff might make things a little bit easier, but I don't know. We'll see.
I hear you. It's frustrating how much of this stuff is like non-critical sensor dependent, but it's like if that one little thing dies, the whole thing goes. It's like we had a washing machine for about 2 years, and some stupid thing died on it that I could not figure out for the life of me, but it just up and died one day, just stopped working. So we had to march to Home Depot, get a new one, pull my car out of the garage, move everything around, get the new one in there, and it's just like, come on, whatever happened to things like lasting? I mean, grandma's washing machine before that was ancient, and the only reason why we had to get rid of it is because one of the valves for the water just finally stopped working, and unless you were physically there to turn the water supply off when it went into spin cycle, the thing would just keep dumping water into the machine, and eventually it would have probably overflowed, and it was just like, it was painful to get rid of it just because you knew that thing was bulletproof. I mean, they could have put that thing into a nuclear bomb blast test, put the thing into a portable generator, and washed all their clothing when they were done. But nowadays things are just so crappy anymore. It's, you have to get rid of old stuff, but
Which is like
I even looked at
where wash machines used to have the electric engine or electric motor, and then they had a transmission that was attached to it. If you look underneath a wash machine now, they don't have transmissions anymore. They have what's called a Magnum motor, and the motor does the and it's every time it changes direction, that motor has to stop and turn the opposite direction. It's that there's no transmission that takes care of that.
Yeah. So on paper, it might be more efficient, but in reality, it's less efficient just in terms of the fact that the motor has to start and stop instead of just continuously running, and it's a gear train that's doing all the work.
Right. And I kid you not, I bought a wash machine, found that out. I actually went to another place, Lowe's, and asked them, "Do you have a wash machine that has a transmission?" They said no. they do not make washing machines with transmissions anymore. I'm like, you're kidding me. What about the one that says commercial use? They took and they tipped it over, said, see, there's no transmission. I'm like, great. So I'm stuck.
What I don't get is these quote high efficiency washing machines that somehow magically the drum rotates back and forth and the little washing fairies come on out and somehow tumble really well and your crap gets done. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, those things don't work. They suck.
When I went to go buy a wash machine, they said, oh, you want to get the one here with had this little dome thing in the bottom of it? I'm like, no, I want one with an agitator. Why do you want that? I said, because my clothes get dirty. I want to get one with an agitator. And they're like, okay. I said, now, does this one have water level? Oh, no, it senses how much water you need. I said, how can I change that? And there's actually a setting for full load. And if you do that setting, it actually will fill up the water all the way to the top. Otherwise, it will weigh the clothes and only but just enough water where it's almost to the top of the clothes, but not quite to the top of the clothes. Which, when you're sandblasting and you've got paint and dirt and sand and everything else through your clothes, that little bit of water is not going to be enough to do it.
When you're Jimmy and you're walking around with half a bag full, half like a big old, bag that you get at the local home improvement store full of sand in your clothing, you need a fair bit of water,
Uh-oh, we're losing 3D Maker Noob. Joe, have a good one. Thank you very much.
Yeah, trust me. I'm not saying that in most situations these machines probably don't get the job done for your average load of clothing. But for people like us who just absolutely make our clothing look like in a grease pit, and then we ran around and rolled in the sand on the beach, and then for good measure we jumped in the ocean a little bit and rolled around in the sand some more and let it dry, we need the old-fashioned style machines. Thank you very much.
Exactly. That's exactly right too.
I mean, let's face it. When I get into a project, I get filthy. I'll be perfectly honest. When I'm working on my mill and I'm having to tear stuff apart, my pants are covered in grease. My hands are covered in grease. My shirt probably has a bit of grease on it. I want something that's going to get rid of it all.
Daniel Norrie says, hey, hey, hey.
He got the fast bus to work.
Greg the Great says, LOL, Jimmy, my old machine had soak feature. The new one does not. That's exactly right. There's a lot of features that the washing machines had even 10 years ago that the new washing machines do not have those settings. It's just really weird. Of course, now I got to go up and learn all that stuff. Honestly, and make sure I know which ones do what.
I have visions like 3 years from now, we're going to have the open washing machine and open dryer thing becoming real, kind of like in the 3D printing community, kind of like with like the Open RC, Open Railway. Open home appliances, because the ones in the stores are fill in the blanks, which I'm not going to say on stream.
Yeah.
I can see that becoming a thing, and I can see that really irking some people at corporate. But you know what? People just don't care anymore about, like what King Random said, it's all about this fill in the blank water conservation. I'm not saying that we shouldn't conserve our resources, but at the same time, like my grandmother says, how efficient is a water efficient toilet if I have to flush it twice to get my number 2 to go down?
Exactly. And it's the same way with washing your clothes. How efficient is it if you have to run your clothes through 2 or 3 times in order to get them clean?
Exactly. It's less efficient that way from a time, energy, water, chemicals, all of the above standpoint.
Right. It's just like with the new air compressors and stuff. because they went to the tier 3 and tier 4 engines for here in California for the diesel emissions. And how is it that my air compressor can use 2 gallons per hour at full load of diesel, yet a brand new air compressor with this new highly efficient engine uses 5 gallons per hour of diesel? I
But
can't see how
supposedly
that's
it makes
more efficient.
less emissions. Well, the interesting thing is, I know somebody who's going to school down in the LA area who's a big train buff, and he was telling me that the new Tier 4 EMD, electric motive diesel locomotives that a commuter rail line got down there, he goes, from an efficiency standpoint, they're very good. He goes, the problem is reliable. They've literally had it happen where they've had a engine die in the middle of rush hour, and they literally now have to run 2 locomotives, a double header. Normally they run 1, because just in case that tier 4 locomotive breaks down, they got older locomotive to push it out. And I'm just like, that is the height of efficiency right there. That is stupid.
King Random nailed it on the head. Said plus the P additive. Okay. Are you familiar with what they call diesel emission fluid?
Yeah. It's urea and water.
Right. It's what? Pig urine?
Yeah, I think it's, yeah, pretty much. I have, without getting too graphic here, I would absolutely love to see somebody and their buddies drink a lot of water, pee in their DEF tank, and have it work, and just be like,
So I was talking to one of the guys at Ford, and this conversation came up, and they're like, pick up that bottle over there, look at the main ingredient. I pick it up, I look at it, I'm like, urea? And he goes, yeah, that's what we say. Said, when you get behind a bus or anything that's got this in it, said you smell this smell to it, and you can't quite put what it is until you read that ingredient, and then you can figure out what that smell is that you're smelling coming out of the tailpipe. Like, you're kidding me. Said, yeah. So the next time you see a truck driver beside the road, don't think of it that he's over there urinating. Think of it that he's filling up his DEF tank.
Duo said the main ingredient is water, 2/3. Urea is only 1/3. Yeah, but from what I know about the way DEF works is, when the urea enters along with the steam from the water, enters the high temperature of the vehicle's catalytic converter, it converts nitrous oxides and other stuff into harmful stuff. So it supposedly does things, but at the same time, it's kind of like, well, what about particulates? Should we really be focusing about particulates instead of in our tank to make it better? It's one of those things that's a really tricky situation. I'm not saying that it does or doesn't do anything. I'm really not super familiar with it. I don't own a diesel car, but I'm not saying it does amazing things, but it's definitely one of those interesting things that it might help. But it's like, well, what about the potential, impacts of the urea that's not been processed through there getting into the atmosphere? I mean, the stuff's not the greatest to get into the water because it can cause algal blooms and whatever to happen.
Like Duo says, CO2 and ammonia. That and the ammonia is the one that hit crossed my mind. Was, I don't know, ammonia. I can't see loading the atmosphere with a whole lot of that being very good for the environment either.
No, it's the interesting thing is, actually old rocket engines. I think the X1 or X15 or I think one of them actually used ammonia as the main fuel because in a specially designed engine, it can actually be burned energy, believe it or not. I know if you expose it to I think it's like a heated platinum wire, actually have a self-sustaining catalytic reaction.
He's also mentioning something that I figured too. Is I remember them having particulate filters. So it's not just a catalytic converter. They also had what's called a particulate filter that filters out the carbon portion of the exhaust.
I know they're not inside of mines underground. Of all the battery, overhead, catenary wire powered locomotives and diesel locomotives, believe it or not, diesel locomotives are the most efficient and the best method of doing things, but it should be noted that they've got very special catalytic converters, got really good filters, and they're running a special like biodiesel, regular diesel, low sulfur emissions blend. So obviously you have ventilation in the mine, but believe it or not, you can make a very clean burning diesel. But then again, these things are mostly just hauling people around and a little bit of equipment. But I don't know what kind of fuel efficiency you're getting or how much maintenance it requires. But you can make a very clean burning diesel. It's just it requires a boatload of work, and I don't think it's something that's, really that efficient in the large scale, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
In very specific applications for something where like an air compressor or a generator or a pump, where the approximate engine running range and things like that, yeah, it makes total sense because you can tune the engine to run within a very specific RPM range, and you could get that thing running super efficiently. But inside of a locomotive, a vehicle, it's just not going to work because you're constantly, up and down with the RPMs, loads different, all that stuff.
King Rhino was bringing up about the new VWs. Did you ever hear about that, where they had it where the computer would cheat? So as soon as they detected the computer was plugged into it to check the emissions, it would automatically trigger this thing about everything's great, everything's fine, and then as soon as it unplugs it, it's like, okay, put everything back to normal. That was a pretty ingenious deal they did, honestly. It was wrong, but man, it was a genius.
I'm not saying that what they did was by any means something that people should ever duplicate, but I agree with you. In terms of cheating, it ranks right up there with like the people on Breaking Vegas who made, like, back in the 80s, like strapping computers to themselves and putting like things in their shoe and putting a microphone inside their sleeve to check the roulette wheel to figure out what to bet on. I mean, it's like, of all the ways you can cheat on something, I'm not saying it's right to do by any means, but if you're going to do it and you're going to do it like that, I'm at least going to admire you for the amount of effort you put into it, but I'm still not justifying that you did it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. They're talking about all the Jettas. I'm not for sure on the Jettas, but my brother had a Volkswagen Bug. I want to say it was a 2002, 2004, I think, somewhere in there. And that sucker got about 45 miles to the gallon. That thing just had like a little turbocharged diesel engine to it. That thing just purred like a kitten. Only bad thing was he kept taking it off road, and every time he'd take it, down a dirt road or a gravel road or whatever, he would bottom out and bust the oil pan. And the oil pan, instead of being a steel oil pan, was a cast aluminum. So it'd go, and that's it. $800 to replace one at the dealership.
Oh my gosh.
I get a call one time. I was over in Hollister, seeing my stepson, and I get this phone call from my parents, and they said, Tom's in New Idria. Where? New Idria. I'm like, where in the world is New Idria? And they said, well, it's somewhere out past Hollister. I've never heard of New Idria. So, well, he's down there, and he was out looking at some land, and he hit a pothole, and it did something to his oil pan, so he's got a real bad oil leak, and all the oil's out. Okay, well, I'll figure out where he's at. So I went and I go buy a bunch of oil. I got some of that quick steel, where you just like a putty, you can just mix it up, and some duct tape. I kid you not. That's what I did. So I call him up. I said, "Where in the world is New Idria?" "Oh, well, you go down the 25 and you come down past Pinnacles and you turn off on this road and you're heading off toward the I-5. What do you mean I'm heading toward the I-5? I kid you not. It took us, I left Hollister at like 6 o'clock. We got there like at 9 or 9:30 at night. Get there and sure enough, the oil pan just had a huge hole in it. So I get down there with a rock. First, I wipe it off with some rags, get it all cleaned up. I take a rock and I scratch up the oil pan real good because it says you have to roughen it up a little bit. So I just scratch up the oil pan. I take that whole tube and I just get it all gooey and stick it up in there as far as I could and smear it all over it. And then I took duct tape. We let it set for an hour, put the oil in it. That sucker ran perfectly fine going home. It was funny at the same time that they'd called me, they called a tow truck. The tow truck was supposed to get out there. Tow truck never showed up. They kept calling them all night long, could not get hold of them. Finally, I think it was about 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, we finally pull in into Salinas. We call the guy. He's not answering his phone anymore. Next day, we call him up. "What happened to you?" "Well, I finally just gave up." I don't even know if the guy even left.
No, one thing that Duo said up in the chat, we find it really fast. I think it was Duo said it. Yeah, he said diesel locomotives are also diesel locomotives are only that efficient when carrying a large load compared to trucks. Yeah, I mean, I will say from personal experience of driving a small full-size train, it's actually pretty impressive how much efficiency there is, especially when you cut the throttle and you're just coasting. I mean, I've been on a train that had the because of a door issue, had the power lockout. We were able to coast about 5 miles on flat ground and we barely lost speed. I mean, the engineer had to pull into the station using the brakes actually, but I mean, the amount of efficiency on a large train is very impressive. Short ones, not those big old like mile-long intermodal trains, carrying tons and tons and tons of stuff, are very efficient just because of the filling way more stuff than a truck could ever haul, very long distance using, relatively speaking, a very amount of fuel, per the amount of weight that you're hauling. But yeah,
and I remember seeing the commercials for that. I forget what train company it was. I want to say it's CDX or something like that. I forget CSX. What train that could be. And they had an advertisement where they said that their trains are so efficient that at full capacity that it averages 35 cents per mile. 35, I think it's 35 cents per mile for fuel. It's just a ridiculously low amount in the way of fuel compared to the amount of load that they were carrying. And I can see where as powerful as those trains are, and most of your trains are what, a mile long, have what, 3 engines pulling them?
Usually it's 3 to 4 engines, and to be honest, the only time that you really use a lot of power is when you're pulling from a dead stop or going up a grade.
Yeah.
Other than that, most of the time you have on your average locomotive, usually you're only using between notch 2, 3 to maintain your momentum, just enough to keep you within speed, especially if you're going on flat ground. If you're going downhill, you'll actually engage what's called dynamic braking, where you use the motors in the locomotive through a bank of resistors to help aid in slowing it down. And then even then, you probably need to use the brakes on top of that. I mean, going down a hill is actually extremely dangerous on a train if the brakes let go, which has been documented in many occasions. It's crazy. I'll put it that way. It does not, I'll put it this way, does not stop as quickly as people think. Even a small train at slow speeds, they're actually very sensitive to the braking, but about like miles an hour, good luck.
Paul says it's like him running. Self burn.
I can't run. My knees are bad, so I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, you know what? It's getting close to midnight. You want to go ahead and call it?
I say we call it. Thanks, guys, for joining us for our highly random, but actually quite interesting. That's the nice thing about the Calvin and Jimmy show is if all else fails, we just get a bunch of good chat fodder from the chat and just talk about peeing into diesel exhaust fluid tanks and how trains are so great. And Jimmy tells stories about rescuing a relative who does crazy things in his Jetta with, duct tape and, whatnot. It's always fun.
Daniel's over there saying, I don't know if I want to go back into America and smell that smell.
No, he's probably going, yeah.
He's going to be behind a bus going,
wait, if we ever do the bus to Murph, what we're going to do is we're going to have a separate tank that's the urinal that feeds straight into the diesel exhaust fluid tank, so that way we know we will never run out.
oh, God. Oh,
could not help it.
With that said, guys, thank you very much for joining. Have a great night. Take care. We will see you next week on Calvin's channel.
Out.
Take it, Calvin.
Well, I don't know what else to say than the stupidity that was tonight's stream. And if you guys are interested in next week's stream about our multi-purpose machines, talking about 3D printers, laser cutters, and CNC machines, or a mishmash of all three in one being all that great, we'll be hosting that on my channel next week, same time. So if you aren't already subscribed, feel free if you want to do that so you don't miss out on it. Otherwise, just follow the 50,000 tweets from us, and you'll find us eventually.
Sounds good. Guys, have a good one. Take care. Bye.
Bye.